in memory. And there are all kinds of ways of doing that without having an earth burial. And that's why in a lot of retirement areas, that's why they're choosing cremation.
So you can still have essentially a traditional service,
Absolutely.
but not necessarily have an earth burial.
Right.
What's an example of that for a family who might come in who is committed to cremation but still wants to have?
Yeah, we would do what we call a traditional cremation. It's where we bring the loved one's remains in, prepare the body through arterial embalming, which is the same process that you do with kidney dialysis, is what you do with embalming. And that just allows you to have a public viewing and a public funeral for loved ones' remains by doing that. And you may take put the body in a casket, a casket, either a cremation casket or a casket that's designed for the interior to be removed and placed in the crematory. It's different options out there, depending on what the family wants, obviously. But and then you just basically have a traditional funeral, but instead of going to the cemetery for the burial, you come back to the funeral home, or if the service was there at the funeral home, as a lot of them are. Instead of going to the cemetery, we go in the next room over, which is where the crematory, which is where the crematory is located. Some families will actually observe us placing the loved one in the crematory. Some will actually sit in the room is finished, kind of like this, so it's like a finished room, right? It's not in a warehouse or whatever. So, it's a lot of families will do that. Some families, based on their religious custom, may even start the crematory themselves.
Wow.
Some religions require them to, or allow them to do that, and they want to do it. But that's basically people, they don't necessarily do it to save money as much as they don't see for cremation. They don't see the value and going through the cost involved of an earth burial here locally when they weren't born and raised here, and they have no incentive to do that. A lot of times they'll take the ashes. You can do the body itself in the eyes of the law, those ashes. Once the body is reduced to what nature is going to eventually do anyway, to a container size for the ashes, the family has the option then of taking the body, if you would, or the ashes, and it becomes a lot more portable, so they can take the loved one's remains with them back home for burial or scattering or whatever the family wants to do. It's totally up to them, obviously. 83% of the time nationwide, either families bury or scatter. So, that the cremation process allows families obviously to do that.
They will actually bury the cremains, the cremated ashes.
Back home. They can bury a loved one's ashes on the same grave or in the same grave that maybe a casketed remains of a loved one are buried.
Sure.
So that's kind of saves on land space or whatever.
That's tremendous. Very green, as they say. Very green. Well, that's so. But now Myrtle Beach Funeral Home and Crematory still does traditional earth burials as well.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
We've seen. I know a lot of viewers particularly viewers in the Myrtle Beach area, have seen some of the advertising that Myrtle Beach Funeral Home and Crematory has done. That seems like it's principally focused on cremation. Albeit, I saw recently there have been some added words of we also offer traditional services. So clearly. Making sure that folks understand that it's more than just cremation, albeit affordable cremation for families in this area. The kind of pricing and what is offered in that complete cremation service is pretty tremendous, Jim. How have you all been able to go about doing that kind? I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah, you're talking about the price of the cremation itself?
I mean, how in this area where the pricing has been in the thousands for as long as people have been doing cremation, how has Myrtle Beach Funeral Home and Crematory been able to come in and offer such value-conscious or affordable pricing for families?
Well, we do it based on there's a rule the funeral homes have to follow called the Federal Trade Commission or FTC rule, and you basically price based on what your overhead is. Mm-hmm. And by keeping our building, even though it's a nice facility, right. It's not real large. It's 7,000 square feet and not a tremendous facility, you know, but very suitable for traditional or cremation services.
Sure, it's got a 100-seat chapel in
right.
there,
Mm-hmm.
right?
So that's one thing. I'll be honest with you, our hearse is not brand new. It's 10 years old, you know, right. But it looks, it's sure. Clean, and it right. looks, most people can't tell the difference between an old hearse and a new hearse. You know?
The limousine and the
right.
van and otherwise.
They can't, but all of that, what we've done, I was a cost analysis man for years for funeral homes in my former life, but
my former wife, look.
But so by keeping the cost down, you can afford to offer more affordable services, which is what we do. And we don't have a huge staff. We've got 2 licensed funeral director embalmers, myself and young man, much younger than myself.
Right. An Horry County native, Brad
right.
Stevens,
mm-hmm.
yes, who's a superstar. Who else do you have there working with you at Myrtle Beach Funeral Home and Crematory?
The office manager is a young lady named Jackie Box that's been associated with the company for several years.
Right, yes, and formerly at Fox TV, mm-hmm. was airing this station with the Myrtle Beach Herald, that's right.
And my oldest daughter, who's a nurse, a BSRN, she works part-time at hospitals and so forth, but she yes. works for us as well. She helps me in the office, as well as my youngest daughter, Blair. Mm-hmm.
And you've got another daughter who I believe I saw recently on the cover of Carolina Bride, a big spread there in Carolina Bride. Your other daughter, Holly.
Yeah, Dr. Holly Bowdre Glover. Yeah,
who married Andrew Glover, another Myrtle Beach native who was also a doctor.
Right.
Both MDs. Are they here locally?
Now they're doing their residency now at MCG down in Augusta at University
Medical College of Georgia. Yes, yes.
She's in dermatology and he's in internal medicine, so they've got a couple more years before, but they will be coming back to the beach. That's their plan. So
yeah, we mentioned 3 daughters. There's some way something had to happen for you to have 3 daughters. We got less than a minute, and I think you and I both be shot if we don't find. Is there some other connection? Somebody brought those 3 girls.
Oh yeah, my wife Carol, who's she runs the household and tells me what to do.
Yes. Even now,
so,
that's
yes,
right.
Yeah. She's one of the best cooks I've ever met in my life, and unfortunately, I'm showing it. But yeah, she's been a great mother, is a great mother, and continues to guide the girls in the best way she knows how.
Right.
Still giving medical advice to 2 medical doctors.
That's amazing.
That's
yes.
her.
Yes, and she also helps out in the death care industry.
Yes. Oh yes. She's associated with hospices throughout the coastal area.
That's tremendous. Jim, sorry we've run out of time. Thanks so much for being with us this morning. We hope to get you back another time. Keep doing what you're doing.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
Stay tuned to more All-American People with Jim Bowdre, the manager of Myrtle Beach Funeral Home and Crematory, coming up next. I had a dozen other questions I wanted to ask Jim. We're just going to have to get him back another time. Just some of those basic questions. What is cremation? What are all the steps that go into cremation? Why are so many people choosing cremation? We heard him touch on it a little bit. There's so much more. You can go online to myrtlebeachfuneralhome.com, myrtlebeachfuneralhome.com, to learn a little bit more about Jim, his tremendous crew there, the entire extended family that serves so many families at Myrtle Beach Funeral Home and Crematory. We'll get him back another time. Pop on by right at the back gate of the former Myrtle Beach Air Force Base, where 707 meets 17 bypass. Jim Bowdre, thanks so much for being with us this morning.